everyone. Really excited about this topic, actually. It's interesting because I spent the weekend with Tash here and a couple of other people in Wellington, and we did our values. And funnily enough, this word connection that we'll be talking a lot about today came up in my values. So it sort of makes sense that I talk about this week. So first of all, my name's Abby, and I am the ambassador for the Waikato and Bay of Plenty region. And I also have the pleasure of sort of leading the group of ambassadors that work around our country to help make a better place for PTs and obviously fitness professionals, wider people in the industry, and help them to be supported, feel supported and educated, and basically stay credible in what they do. So we obviously offer things like our Course Day Tuesday, where we give the CPD ambassadors, CPD courses, the chance to have the ambassadors share and present their courses each week. We also then pop them onto the national page. We do things like our national meetups, as you're seeing right now, and then they can exist in a smaller audience in the physical person-to-person sense as well within the regions. And then generally we have little fun bits and pieces, lots of which Tash has actually had a lot to do with, our member of the months, member of the week, those sorts of things, and also presenting our themes and things like that to the wider council each month. So given that we've got a theme this month of connection and engagement, I want to get started with that. So the words connection and the words engagement, two words that are going to be toyed around with a whole lot over the next half an hour or so. So what do we mean when we talk connection? So that is the energy. This is sort of a Brene Brown, who I adore, concept here. So the energy that is created between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, and when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. So pretty big, meaty stuff there, but essentially how two people feel when they connect with one another, how two people feel when they're valued, essentially, with that connection being strong, with that relationship being strong. That's all about connection. The next word, which we'll come back to later, is engagement. So having one's full attention and focus, considers the motivation, commitment, and connection, funnily enough, that one has to what they see or do. Someone with high engagement shows this in their demeanor, work output, and their connection to others. So more about the level of attention, focus, and then obviously the way that they interact with one another and connect. So we'll come back to that word a bit later. So starting with connection. So connection creates engagement, and engagement creates connection. So they work so well hand in hand. And obviously one generally exists with the other and can't exist without the other. So when we're talking connection, we're talking and engagement, we're talking about different sorts of relationships. So obviously today, a lot of you are here as PTs or fitness professionals, and we have a lot of interaction and engagement and rapport and things that we grow between ourselves and our customers or our clients. But I'm also talking more generally today. So I'm talking about the relationships and connections we have with our family and friends, also our teams. So if we're business owners or part of a team, we might have employees, colleagues and contractors and things like that we're working with. And then we also have our social media audience. So something that's obviously a whole wider, different group of people than what our parents perhaps ever had when they were starting businesses. So that's something that I think is really unique, and obviously something we need to take advantage of when we are connecting. It's not just about those right in front of us, but also those potential clients or people in our wider audience. So when we're talking about connection, what is it that makes someone want to reach out for us and want to connect with us? There's so many choices, there's so many people and options and opportunities to explore within our industry. What is the reason that one would come our way? So I went forward and I asked a cross-section of people in my world, all different genders and ages and from different industries, walks of life. And I asked them the same question. And the question was, how can a person or a company that you're engaging with, either personally or professionally, interact to best connect with you? So the long story short, in other words, how would one find a click with you, and what makes them warm and feel trusting and engage with you and what you have to offer? It's a pretty big, meaty question.
We lost you, Abby.
Yeah, sorry, I've just reconnected. My internet went off. How weird. I just saw that your photos disappear and I was like, oh. Okay, we'll just jump back in.
So I stopped being able to hear you when you started talking about when you sent out a question to people, if that helps.
Cool. Thank you.
No worries.
Very cool to carry on from there then. That looks comfier. All right, am I actually recording? Sorry, guys. Yeah, we're recording. Okay, so I'll go back on. There we go. All right, so I heard things like they need to speak my language or sing my tune. They need to know their audience or where I sit. They need to be able to put themselves in my shoes and meet me at my level. They need to show empathy and care, gain respect and trust, come to me with a warm smile, so more the body language side of things, make polite conversation to start with before sort of launching deeper into getting to know me. Be approachable and positive, aware of body language, feeling relaxed and welcoming towards me, be relatable, share my values. The list is massive. So all of the things that we found all had to do with people skills, soft skills. So no one said to me they need to know their stuff, especially when it comes to a product or a sales pitch as such. It wasn't so much about what they know, but how they came across. And I think that's something we often underestimate. We think we need to be all of the things. And actually, a lot of those soft skills that we already have, we just need to really connect with. So in a work sense, some of the people did speak more in a work sense rather than a personal sense. And they said things like they need to be really passionate about what they're offering. They need to approach without pressure. So they don't want to feel, these people don't want to feel pushed into something or like they're being sold to. They need to genuinely listen to what I have to say and what my goals are and respond without scripted small talk that doesn't feel meaningful or connected. And they need to ask feedback on how I'm feeling so that there's that connection and it continues to be thrown back and forward. So interestingly, once again, that skill list is something that you all have. You're probably looking at those words and deciding that actually you're quite capable of doing all of the above. So in other words, connection is relatively easy to do. It's just having intention and willingness about it. So yes, it is a skill and it's something that's really important in our industry. Someone who's successful at connection engagement isn't a superhero. They're just someone who bothers with people. So question is, how many of you feel like you could do, if not one, but all of these things? I think it's an easy no-brainer, really. Things like smiling, making eye contact, you're doing it all the time. So you're already a master of it. It's just a matter of wanting to do that and taking the time, essentially. So moving on, that really proves that nothing really matters more than how much you care. So nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. In the past, I've done a little bit of speaking to students and things like that are building into our industry, and that's something I always mention because I do think there's such an emphasis on what you know. And yes, that of course has to be there, but essentially it's the how you go about putting out what you know that's going to make someone drawn to you and engage with you, which is coming soon. So the benefits of high social interaction, some really cool figures here, some stats about how it affects us a little more deeply. So 50% increased chance of longevity. They say there's a higher chance of immunity. I guess it's all that connecting, you're around people and you're building up your health immunity as well. There's lower rates of anxiety and depression in those who are more connected and more social. There's that higher empathy, self-esteem, better emotional recognition, being able to interact. So many sort of cognitive and emotional responses that come from that. So by neglecting our need to connect, we're putting ourselves under so much more risk is really what that shows us. The dangers, there's stats around, worse health and higher inflammation in the body, Obviously, those of you that were in lockdowns for a long time would have felt perhaps some of these slightly more dangerous aspects of being less connected. So aside from just building business and being a wonderful, comfortable person to be around who's connected, it's also that it's a health, it's a health thing as well. So there's so much reason as to why we need to remain connected, not only for business. And also the dangers going and then into the how. So if you're an introvert or you're someone who doesn't really find value in friends, not everybody wants to be the popular person, that's okay. There's still ways that you can connect, obviously, in the ways that suit you and how your personality rolls. And then lastly, ways that you can find that connection internally and build on that. You can be doing something with volunteering. Obviously, that's a real pull for those that are givers and want to be able to reach out and give back. You've got the chance of having more focus and connection when you're that number 2 there, taking care of yourself and reaching out to others. It can make you feel a whole lot better about yourself when you're giving back to somebody. And also that 3rd section there on asking for help. So this is a really neat diagram I saw with those 3 sections you've just seen. And I think, it gives us that idea of connection being such an easy thing, but just some ideas there around how to do it. So other ways you can connect, a lot of people in the business sense often get into networking groups, things like BNI or, morning meetings and things like that, where you might get together and have breakfast. For a lot of people, it's a real step outside the comfort zone to be connecting in that way, because it's, people you've never met, but someone's only a stranger until they say hello and connect with you warmly. And then, that could be the start of a really amazing, collaboration or something for business. So really getting into those networking sort of hubs is an idea. Taking up new hobbies. It might be that you have some extra time up your sleeve to go and join a sports team or a class of some kind that, you yourself as a fitness professional have never had the chance to try, which also strengthens your service, noticing how people are interacting with you as a client. If you've not had an experience of switching hats for a long time, it might be a worthwhile thing to do. Getting along to community events, really cool idea to just scroll through your Facebook, if you're a Facebooker, Facebook events and see what's happening in your region in the week. Maybe making a point of going out to a market. You never know who you might see. And of course, someone being reminded of you as a client or of your business as such when they see you at a public event just gives them that little cue of, right, I was going to get in touch with that person, or hey, why don't you come along to a class of ours? All those sorts of chances to interact. Who knows, it could be a forever friend or even a forever client in the making right in front of you from being present somewhere. So connection, all of the above creates purpose. So anyone who has a sense of purpose generally has something connected about them, strong connection to what they do, how they do it, the people that are involved in that thing. So we'll give connection a little tick in the box, something that we feel we can manage quite easily, I'm sure. Moving through into engagement. Now, I believe there's a sort of second meaning to engagement than what we talked on earlier. So this section here, we spoke about having attention, motivation, commitment to each other, and that's sort of what brings about this working system of one against the other, and engagement being strong is all about that. But there's also this metric in a sort of more business sense that includes content. So when we're talking engagement in a Facebook or social media way, so that includes a metric that includes any interaction with content. For example, on a video ad, it could include relatively meaningless actions like volume control, as well as metrics like clicks. So how engaged is somebody with your business? Well, it could mean how often they're liking or sharing something on your page. So slightly different skew on that same word there. So the types of engagement we can have here are things like your behavioral, emotional, cognitive engagement. So the way we interact with each other as humans, but then also in that social media sense, things like the likes, the comments, the shares, and the click-throughs to a website or whatever it might be. So likes can be our simple, helpful scorecard of the quality of the content you're creating. Gives you a nice feeling straight away of, that post really worked, or hey, I'm not really getting likes on this one. So really nice little gauge there, scorecard. The comments, talking directly to your user base, is a vital way of turning passive audiences into loyal communities. So when you actually get the commenters, the people that are really, really engaged with you, and they're speaking, highly of you, or they're talking about their class experience or how they interact with you, essentially that's just showing the extent or the power of your community. So a really good way to secure that. If someone's going to share, you can kind of go that next layer up, right? Someone's really engaged with what you're doing and really loyal to you and really wants to help you forward. So that's another scorecard tick in the box, I guess, to show that people are inspired by you, and then they're voluntarily sharing your content to make sure it reaches a wider audience, and they want their friends part of it too. That's a really, really wonderful pat on the back for you. And of course, that's a really cost-effective form of marketing for you as well, to get your name out there. And then you've got the click through. So people that are genuinely wanting to engage as first-timers, perhaps, liking your post and then getting ahead into the nitty-gritty of where's that class, I want to be part of it, if we're talking in a business sense. So some ways to get engagement. How the heck can we do it? So we need to offer our individual attention. Obviously, if we're talking more in the engagement with a singular person, we want to make sure they feel our attention is with them, that there's good communication, and that we find common ground. So you'll notice that first one there is just our connection word all over again. We then need to provide that education, that technical advice, the support. So again, you can see why personal trainers already are so good at that, because there's just that ongoing support, and our offering is technical and supportive. Then we go into our listening. So listening to hear, we're often in our sales environment very sold to, very spoken to. The scripting and whatnot is very off the cuff, just generic, same to each person. If you're being sold to, say in a car sense, if you're having someone speak to you about what the car does, there's probably not a whole lot you're going to have to say. But in our sense, very people-centric, we need to really hear what people say, because it's often those real pain points that we're working with, and to not really hear and sense and feel how it is for somebody to be in their shoes will never really nail down what it is that we're here for at all. So really, really hearing to listen rather than talking. Listening to hear, hearing to listen. Offering the right tools, so giving them the space, literally, physically, or the space in terms of, that mental space, building them some structure around what they're doing. Obviously, again, I'm pulling this into the fitness sense, but giving them programming and things like that, creating a bit of a structure so that they feel safe. Some expectations, rules, boundaries, all those sorts of things that don't necessarily have to feel like school all over again, but give them a feeling that there's an understanding of where we all sit, how things work, so that, again, it just rolls really smoothly. Being real, social, fun, collaborative, all those sorts of good things that help to build community. Feeling like or making sure you make people feel included. Being inclusive, I think, is the hugest part of having engagement, making everyone feel like they're being spoken to, as opposed to, honing in on one particular very small audience. While we do like to have niches in our space, it might be that we really want to attract, for example, people in the senior space and have them feel really, really part of something and strong for them. It's being able to make sure that that whole audience is attacked. It's not just, hey, you need to be fit to come to class or anything like that. So really inclusive, and that's obviously what will build strong engagement in that respect. Respect, so being a serving person, not servant, but serving the people that you're listening to, that you're working with, being encouraging, creating that respect and that trust. The mutual reliance, so being able to have that active participation on both sides, everybody doing their bit and living up to, or being accountable to what they say they'll do, and matching and mirroring them. That can often be a really cool tool in a sales perspective. If you see somebody a little guarded, it's sort of making sure that you don't just come in with all the energy and really expose their weaknesses or how they're feeling. So kind of just feeling things out, again, going back to that connection, you'll notice some of those responses were around, starting polite and then getting to know each other, getting deeper, those sorts of things, not just coming with a bang. As much as we love energy, it is really important to meet someone where they sit. And then lastly, the recognition. So making sure there is that, celebration of success and goals and achievements. So, engaging with your audience on a Facebook or social media channel or platform might be celebrating the wins of that particular group you're working with, or, making sure that there's that promotion of what you do, not in a way that makes anyone feel uncomfortable, that they're all about weight loss and losing 40 kilo all the time, but just recognizing that people are doing wonderful things so that it's a goal to work towards and something that people feel part of going forward. So there's so many ways, there's 6 or 8 ways there that we can engage, and you're probably already doing it, but just acknowledging that those things all need to be there. I know for me, when I read through that list, I love to talk, and sometimes I go, oh, do I listen enough? You learn so much more when you sit back and listen. So all those things might just be a quick little checklist to work through, and even giving yourself a little number of, where do I sit on 1 to 5? Which ones are my weaknesses? Which ones do I not often do with my social media platforms? Am I not perhaps creating an engaged audience? Am I working quite individually and not working on a wider scale to really pull people into what we do and grow that community? Naturally, that's a nice thing for that purpose. Growing a community gives you purpose, but it's also great in the business respect too. We can't build successful businesses without people, of course. So that's where that connection and engagement is so important. So overall, rapport is kind of the click. To me, the rapport word is the missing link between the two. So one of our ambassadors, actually, when they were asked this question, said rapport is needed to be built for that alliance between those two people. And I think that's a really clever way to kind of link those words together. Unfortunately, in my little graphic here, the word engagement wasn't there, but it could be. So rapport to me is a tool for building and nurturing relationships. So when you have rapport with someone, you're better placed to learn and teach and sharpen your capacity to influence. And I think that influence word, let's be honest, it's kind of gone all sorts of ways, isn't it? In the sense of, an influencer being somebody who can sell products or show off their washboard abs and suddenly have an audience, let's be honest. But being influential, I think, is such a key to our industry. People have to feel really, really comfortable with you to bother coming to your space to learn with you or to work with you as a trainer. So you have to have that influence to be able to pull them in, but what keeps you influential to them? And I think that's a really, really careful, it's a careful person, that can manage to hold somebody and their loyalty for a period of time. So don't mess with that. I think influence is such a powerful thing to have over somebody, and how you treat that is really important. So particularly as the trust and loyalty build, other people are more likely to engage with you and accept your ideas, to share information, and to create opportunities to connect together. So I feel like that rapport kind of summary there perfectly binds together those engagement and connection ideas we've talked on. And ultimately, the world needs a whole lot more of that. If we all connected a little better, listen to each other a little more, let the right kinds of person be our influence, and ultimately have people's trust and acceptance all built in together, everything flows just harmoniously. So I'm going to leave it there, but I feel like that is a good place to keep your mindset for the rest of the day. Just remembering all those little words that came out. I'll share a few more, showing that they care about me, all these reasons why people feel either they don't get connected with or they want more connection, want more from someone. It's those things like being intuitive, having awareness of people. So take a moment in your day today to perhaps click into one of those words that you saw earlier that you perhaps don't feel you have together just yet, maybe just don't think about, and see if you can connect somewhat with someone today in that space, being real, of course, and authentic to you, and see how that plays out. so that you can build more ways to connect with people and a wider range of connection styles, because not everybody connects with you in the way that you connect with others. So something to think about. So thanks for joining me, everybody. Obviously, we are getting geared up as a PT Council for our PT breakfast at the fitness conference, or the Exercise New Zealand conference, our FitX yearly annual event. So very excited. That's sort of our next baby and project to be working towards. So certainly if you haven't already and you might have some plans to get up to Auckland, I would 100% join the PTs at our ambassador PT breakfast. And that's held on the Sunday morning. So definitely keep a lookout. We're just getting all of our ducks in a row for that one right now as an ambassador team. And obviously keep a lookout with how you can engage with us as a council going forward, because we've got some really exciting stuff coming in the mix in the next sort of 3 or 4 months, and you'll see evidence of that shortly. We really want to connect with you, and we want to find ways to pull people into our community. It's a tricky one, having been the last couple of years in the COVID world. When we're all about connection, it makes that tricky. So here we are online, but of course there's going to be more and more ways to connect going forward as we start to get into our communities and start to meet on a more face-to-face basis. So definitely take the time to engage with us, because we're going to be here for you as long as you feel like you're here for us as well. So thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Evie.
No worries.